Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne from the Republic of Texas, who just stepped off the floor momentarily. I think the first time in a century that the speaker bid failed in the first round. Congresswoman, thanks so much for joining us and being flexible with your time. What is the latest here? I heard Byron Donalds was nominated, but apparently he didn't expect it.
No. I saw his face when Chip Roy nominated him, and it was definitely not expected. You've had five different folks that Republicans who voted against Kevin McCarthy nominated. It would be good if everybody was on the same page. I mean, right now we're looking at they just finished up the first round of votes. No member has enough to win, so we're going to have to go through a second round of votes. So maybe a long day, it may not be, but it's frustrating. You know, I think after the midterms, so many of us were excited that we were going to win a large majority. When you have a large majority, the people that are in charge are normal, wanting to get things policy-focused Republicans in office. When you've got a narrow majority, you've got the extremes that are in charge, and that could be that couldn't be more obvious than we're seeing right now. But I think it's pretty clear from the American people's votes in the midterms that Democrats were not doing the job. They were not leading. They were not leading us in the right direction, and people voted against it. But I think it also proved that because it wasn't such a large majority that we won by, that the American people are somewhat doubtful that Republicans can lead. And it's frustrating that we just fought to get the majority back, and we're not leading right now.
Because this
first day back in office.
Because this could go on, talking with Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne, because this could go on, I mean, for quite some time. I mean, we were talking about historically, there was a 2-month period when no one was able to determine who was going to be speaker, and that went on for quite a while, and no other business can get done, correct? I mean, this has to get done before anything else.
No. You can't get any of the new members or the old members sworn in until until a speaker has been elected. So until a speaker has been elected, business basically stops on the floor.
Wow. And you were, how did you vote on McCarthy? Where do you stand on all of this? I mean, I always think that if you're going to challenge the speaker, you need to have a good substitute. And it seems like the people that I would like are not interested in doing it. So where does that leave us?
Well, and that's a good point. I mean, what was the plan B? And, I have talked to members of the Freedom Caucus in great detail about, okay, what's your plan B? And unfortunately, I mean, as you've seen, we've had 4 or 5 different people nominated. Their plan B was all over the board. And it is frustrating. You look at Kevin McCarthy, who's been very clear that he wanted to make sure that we got the majority. He has raised money. He has fought. He has traveled across the country to be able to bring that to reality. I voted for McCarthy because quite honestly, there was no plan B. I saw how much work he put in the last 4 years to get the majority back. But more importantly than that, you've got 220 plus members right now of the Republican conference from different perspectives, from different districts. And you got one guy who has to represent them all, the speaker. But I don't look at necessarily the speaker as the one doing the work. Who is he putting in place of responsibility, power, and influence? And I see him putting people like James Comer in. I see him putting people like Jim Jordan in. Those very conservative, very headstrong and articulate members who are going to be able to get the job done.
Not to interrupt, but Jim Jordan, he would be head of House Judiciary Committee, and that's Jim Jordan's who you would want to head that. That's a powerful position. Yes,
and Comer on oversight, because we've got to get down to so many different questions that have not been asked over the last 2 to 4 years. And I think those 2 members in particular are very strong and would be the ones to put in those positions. And we've seen McCarthy be willing to work with Freedom Caucus members, bend over backwards. And I think the frustrating part of the last couple of weeks was it wasn't as if the negotiations were going on between 2 factions. It was they were going on between 20 individuals.
Oh, that's problematic.
And that was really frustrating for the rest of the Congress.
Last 2 quick questions for you. If there had been, somebody like a Jordan or even a Chip Roy who were in the position to challenge McCarthy and they actually wanted to do the job, those would be my choices. They don't want to do it, but if they did, would you have supported something like that? And then number two, are we in a period, are we like really facing the threat of having like a interim Democrat kind of lead all of this? I mean, that's the big fear that everyone has. Newt Gingrich has been warning everybody about this.
So I did not see Jordan did not want it. I did not see Chip make a play for it at all. But what I do know is I've said you've got 220 different voices that all expect to be heard and somebody that has to represent them. And I think having someone who is on the extremes is going to be very difficult to bring the conference together. And when I say extremes, I don't mean just the Freedom Caucus. I mean, you also have your moderate Republicans, your left to moderate Republicans who are equally as forceful. And I think you need to have somebody who is a balance. Now, what was your last question?
Are we in the territory of maybe perhaps having
a Democrat being elected?
Yes. Oh, I don't like your laugh.
Happening.
Oh no.
No. I do not see that happening. But you and I both live in Texas, and you know how hard it is with the Texas state legislature making deals to get a Republican speaker nominated when they start giving over gavels to Democrats. I do not want to see that. And I'll tell you, that would make me vote against anybody who would be willing to do that. We've already seen it in Texas. It doesn't work.
Yeah, there you go. Right. That's a great point, too, because we deal with that all the time in Austin. Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne, we appreciate you joining us. And we're going to keep watching, see how this all plays out. Thanks so much.
Long day ahead.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.